I have on the screen in front of me a copy of a MLS listing that was recently turned in, and it was a really good one, so I thought I'd use it here. But you have in front of you then the MLS printout. We need this once you've completed and loaded it into the MLS. We need to have a copy of this for our files, and it'll list all the pertinent information. And good luck. If you have any questions about that, contact the board. They'll be able to help you with that. The next document we want to make sure we have a copy of is a copy of the property profile. And I don't care which one you use, whatever title company you may work with, but we need the first page such as we have here, because we've had them turned in the past where people have signed that they were the owner and turned out they weren't the owner. So I actually have to check and make sure that the person named on the document, on the listing agreement, is actually the person who is listed as the owner of the property. So this helps me do that. Plus, there's a lot of other great information on here that you'll need for your listing, your square footage, your built, lot size, things like that that you're going to need to have when you finally put it into the MLS. So you might as well have it anyways, and please turn in a copy to us here. And we have, obviously, the next is the residential listing agreement. And the residential listing agreement is the employment contract that employs us to solicit and obtain buyers and sellers. Obtain buyers for our seller here. So if you notice, it's got the date prepared. That's really just there to kind of memorialize. It doesn't have a real function. Exclusive right to sell. Has the seller listed, has the company listed, always Century 21 Experience for the broker. And the beginning date and ending date. Remember, it is a violation of real estate law not to have an ending date. And I have had them turn in blank from time to time. Also, we're coming up to that time of year where we'll be rolling over into 2017. So make sure when you're always in that last quarter or two that you just pay attention to the ending date. You can't have it go into January, February, and still have 2016 listed when we're actually going into 2017. Property address, the county, the assessor parcel number, need that information that identifies this property specifically, or a little more specifically than address will. Also, if the property is a manufactured home or if there's a probate conservatorship, then you would check the appropriate boxes, and you would also have some additional addenda that comes along. Type in the purchase price, it'll write it out like a check, and then the commission amount, whatever the commission amount that has been negotiated with the seller. As you note, that commission rates are not fixed by law, but set by each broker and can be negotiated between them and us. So if you put anything other than what we have discussed in the past, then you need to come to me to get approval. If the listing price is going to have any additional information, you can put it in here as follows. Also, what we don't have here is in this section right here, we don't have the what we call the safety clause, the number of days, calendar days after the listing period expires. If anybody that we brought to the house or any of the other buyers brought to the house, if the seller were to sell to them, they would owe us a commission. Remember that there is always an exclusion to that if they relist with any other company within the MLS. That safety clause does not count. All right, and then sometimes the broker's going to pay a bonus. Maybe they're going to pay a bonus to the selling agent if it closes in 30 days. Maybe they're going to pay you a bonus. You'd put that right here in letter C, and you'd list that there. And then very important, letter D, always, always, always put in what we're going to be paying the other side. We want to make sure that we are full disclosure here, so we're going to put in either the percentage or the amount that is being paid to the cooperating broker. I will require that, so please fill that in. Again, the rest, there's some items excluded or included in the property, things that are going to stay or things that are going to go. So you always have to ask around. If you have questions about that, see me. We'll talk about what's real property and what's personal property. Top of the next page, you got leased items, liened items. Do they have a solar power system? Do they have water softeners, alarm systems? Are they leased? Are they liened? Do they own them outright? That's what we need to know, so it helps you to remember that. Multiple listing service, always put in your multiple listing service. We are the CR, or California Regional Multiple Listing Service. And you can just won't fit all that in, so CRMLS will work. Sometimes the seller chooses, or you've discussed with the seller that they are going to opt out of the MLS. This is a little disclosure that the MLS is requiring that we get initialed and signed by both you and the seller, or myself and the seller, talking about what opting out is. And if we opt out, there is another form that needs to be filled out, which is the exclusion form. It tells them how many days it's going to be excluded, whatever. Goes through the rest of the information about our listing in letter 7C here. Talks about any reports that the seller is going to get. At this point in time, I don't suggest that we get any of these reports. We don't normally do that. These are normally buyer's reports, including the structural pest control report. But if there's a question that the seller might have and wants to get a termite report to know exactly what kind of work needs to be done, you can check the box. Otherwise, normally we just kind of leave that at this point in time. Agency relationships. And then if there's anything else, additional terms, if something that didn't fit anywhere else, you can kind of put it in this area here in item 16, and then the seller's initial all the way down, fill out the bottom of the form, make sure you're complete. You put all the company information down here, including the company's BRE license number, 187-2880, and your BRE license number. We'll also need to have the disclosure regarding agency relationships signed and initialed by everybody and turned in at the time of the listing. Those are all of the required documents. Now, also the seller advisory. That's a required document as well. We want to make sure that the seller's been put on notice of all the things that they're going to be required to do, what we're going to do, and we'll make sure that they initial and sign and make that part. Now, as documents that are automatically generated when you take a listing, you can turn these in with the listing, but you don't have to. They're not fully executed yet. These are just possible representations of more than one party. You can wait till it sells and turn it in then. Most people just turn them all in at one, and we'll just go ahead and put it into the file. It's no big deal. It's not required at the time of the listing, but it's helpful, and we can just stick it in the file. All right, so those are all of the required documents. What you will do then is you'll email or bring in a full set of those, fully executed and readable, and give them to Mandy. You can email Mandy at mandy.cole, C-O-L-E, at century21.com, or you can bring them in, drop them off, or scan them to her, and she will load them into dotloop. All right, any questions, give me a holler. I'm talking to you pretty soon. Have a great day.